There are some interesting nuggets that came out of this last game that I think y'all should hear about, especially around the defense. Let's talk about it next up here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
College football is back, and it's not too late to catch up before your team plays, or if they've already played, you can keep yourself going. Check it out. SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, all of them are available. You can get it all from our Locked On stable of college experts by subscribing to Locked On College Football Podcast. Who has a chance to make the playoffs? What teams will cause chaos in their new conferences? Everything you need to know all in one place. Be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On College Football Podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, one of the big ones, there were some big nuggets, or some nice nuggets in my personal opinion, that came down when I did some digging from this last game that I think you all will appreciate. I want to talk about, of course, we all know about the big numbers, but I want to add them all together and contextualize just how excited I am about this defense. First and foremost, you had what I would like to call the Brent Venables stat. Yes, I call this the BV stat because it's a stat that to me leads directly to Brent Venables, which is the tackles for loss. If you've ever listened to me talk about Venables and what he does, that's one stat I've always looked at. He's always had a team that's ranked in the top 10 around tackles for loss. And in this game, we've got 9 of those, right? That puts us in a very nice ranking in college football because keeping it a buck, the better you are in tackles for loss, that means you've got longer third downs, longer second downs, which of course leads to passes. And if your defense is in a position to be really good there, guess what happens then? You get turnover on downs, you get forced punts, you get turnovers because you make teams get more antsy than what they want to be, and it throws off a lot of rhythm. That got your boy excited. So then, of course, you got the 6 turnovers in there, right? 4 fumbles, 2 interceptions. One of the interceptions was kind of a throwaway late in the game, but shout out to Hardy. He got his interception. Not only is his first interception in college, when he was in high school, his first ever high school game, he also got an interception. So now he's keeping that streak alive. Love to hear that. And then getting 6 sacks. Last season, we struggled in getting sacks, mainly because a lot of teams went into max protect against us very, very early. Plus, with our linebacker room, there was still a lot of adjusting and learning how the system works because we all know in a Brent Venables defense, the most critical thing you have is the linebackers have to make sure they're in the right spots, and they got to make sure the defensive linemen are in their right spots. So that front 7 is critical in doing what is successful in a Brent Venables defense. Well, it appears that we have a 3 deep in that of people that can handle calling those plays or calling the defense, from Danny Stutsman, who you know is the one that's mic'd up, but then you got Kip Lewis, who understands the defense well, and he can adjust people. We got to watch Kobe McKinzie go out there as well, and he was adjusting guys and telling guys where to move here and go there. When you've got defenders like that that can adjust on the fly, that's huge. So 9 tackles for loss, 6 turnovers, 6 sacks. Yeah, that to me is an amazing trifecta in the Brent Venables era of what we're trying to do. One other cool one that came down the line, and it just happened early yesterday. We got the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week, Tyler Keltner. I know, right? Who had it on their bingo card that the kicker was going to get SEC Special Teams Player of the Week? I didn't even think about that. And we joked about it yesterday's episode that for the most part, y'all shouldn't even know who the kicker is. Like at all. Like that's one dude that y'all should not know that even exists. And you feel bad for him because if he has a bad game, then everybody knows who he is, and he's the one that everybody goes after. Well, the good thing for Mr. Keltner is that now y'all know who he is, but y'all don't know about him in a bad way. Y'all are actually pretty happy to, know about who he is and what he's trying to do. And so that was a very interesting stat to go in there. And one other one that really jumped out to me that I felt like really emphasizes the direction that we're going with this defense. We gave up 197 yards in this game. This is the first time that we gave up less than 200 yards to an FBS school, as in a P4, G5, well, G6 now, but someone in the bowl series, football bowl series, subdivision, FBS, first time since 2017. In 2017, UTEP, we had held them under 200 yards, and then we held Kansas to under 200 yards in that season. Since then, we haven't done it outside of like the Western Carolinas of the world and schools that are in the FCS. We haven't done this to an FBS school at all, even in our cupcake games, right? As you would consider, Temple was considered a cupcake. We didn't do that in any of those cupcake games. We allowed less than 200 yards in the game. That is something to be proud of what this defense is able to do because, again, 2017 was the last time we were capable of doing that. That was the last, I guess you could say, really group of players from the Bob Stoops era that played. We weren't shutting teams down like this. We weren't preventing teams from being able to get yards. 200 yards is huge when you're playing against FBS schools. Yeah, if it was the FCS, yes, the expectation is that. We got close against Arkansas State last year. We allowed 208 yards, which was very low. That was the lowest since 2017, but this game was the first time under 200 yards, and Brent Venables pointed that out, and that was the one thing he got really excited about with the defense was them being able to hold a team sub 200. It's really, really hard to hold a team under 200 yards because no matter what, they're going to find a way to get yards. They're an FBS school, right? They're getting 3-star players and decent talent on their teams, the occasional 4-star and the occasional 5-star. We've seen that at FBS schools, a group of fives getting those players. But Oklahoma was able to take that, and even though Temple, like I said, is FBS, we held them under. That is a huge accomplishment, and that's something that we should all be excited about because that means that the defense is going in the right direction, right? Now we've got Houston coming up next week. They struggled mightily against UNLV. And so there's a chance that if we handle things the way we should, if we control the game with game management on the offensive side and let the defense go out there and get them off the field quickly, we could possibly do that again. I'm not saying we are, but I'm saying that if we can hold Houston under 250 yards in this game, that's a massive accomplishment for this defense because truth be told, I saw in the comments section, some of y'all made some comments of, yeah, we should be happy we won 51-3 because if it was in the old regime, it would have been 51-47. I don't believe it would have been that high, but at the same time, you're not wrong. You're not wrong to think that, right? You're not wrong to believe that schematically we would have gave up a lot more yards than we probably should have or even thought about allowing it. But again, Arkansas State, we only gave up 208. And that one was because that game was going so fast. We just gave them a whole bunch of possessions. In this one, we were able to control more of those possessions. And when the young players got in, that's when you kind of saw a couple broken coverages. And that's the good thing about playing your young players, right? They get the experience to recognize the experience on tape against a team that's not their own, that doesn't know what they're going to do. And they're able to get that on tape and look at it and be like, hey, so when this play happens, instead of you going this direction, you were supposed to go here. Now they have the opportunity to understand that. A lot of you had said, and even Brent Venables said, he wished he had played more young players before. Now, a lot of you have said this before. I've seen you in the comments section. I've seen you say, well, we should have played more young players in this one. We played 84, which is another great, interesting takeaway from the game. Venables let those guys play. He let them make their mistakes. But the good thing is they were able to make up for it. And those making up for it was us only giving up 3 points, right? Playing more young players gives them the experience needed so that if later on we need them to play, we're not stressed out about some dude going in there. We're not stressed out about Lewis Carter going in there and saying, oh, this is his first time playing. Is he ready? No, he was able to make a mistake here and there, and he was able to clean it up quickly, right? Same thing with Kobe McKinzie last year, Kip Lewis last year. You saw some of the mistakes that were made when Danny Stutsman wasn't out there. Now that stuff is cleaned up. It's getting cleaned up at least, right? So we don't know about perfection. We're never perfect, but never best. We're always getting better and better. Better, never best. Our goal is to always improve week after week. So Sooner fans, you should be excited about that because that's probably the one thing that got your boy really excited because we need to have a defense. I expect that out of Brent Venables. I know you all do too. So we're going to ride with that Now, Brent Venables talked about injury updates. Y'all know we got to jump into that next up here on Locked On Sooners.